Yes, thank you. And again, thanks for the organization to invite me. I'm very thrilled to be here. And it's a very nice selection of speakers that you will be hearing to this session with different topics. And I will be talking on the issue of automation and robotics in particular. So I'm from the University of Wageningen in the Netherlands. You might know us because we're a university that's completely focused on life sciences and on food production in particular, with all the different aspects that are associated with that. I'm from a group of approximately 40 researchers. We do research on computer vision and robotics in order to solve different problems in automation in the food chain. We do that in pre-harvesting, so we have systems out in the field, autonomous driving, specialized weed control. We do that in harvesting as well, so selective harvesting in greenhouses, for instance, the harvesting of bell peppers, harvesting of tomatoes, all difficult challenges that are associated with that. And I will be talking today about some of the work that we do in post-harvest processing. So in post-harvest processing, there's also a need for the inspection of the quality of the produce and on robotic systems that can pick and place products and package them. So this is a talk associated with the work that we've been doing together with 11 other partners in a European project called Pick and Pack. And the aims of that project are to develop an automated, flexible food packaging line. And I will run you through the different steps in that process. So not all of the work is our work of the Wageningen University, but I'm happy to answer all of the questions. If I can't answer them, obviously I will point you to the right researchers that can go into more detail and answer your questions there. So first of all, why automating in food industry? I mean, it's a trend that's been going on for many decades already, but still there's more need for doing so. And I think the obvious thing the obvious point is that it can be used to reduce costs. But apart from that, you see in the food industry, and especially in the food packaging industry, there's still a lot of manual labor done. On the one hand, manual labor is expensive, at least in the Western countries it's expensive, but it's also getting more and more difficult to get people to actually do that job. Right? There are people in the Netherlands, so we do a lot of expert of greenhouse produce, and there are many people doing the same repetitive movement for 8 hours a day. It's not a very challenging job, and it's a pretty hard work job as well. And we can still convince people, well, the Dutch people are not willing to do the job at all, and we still convince people from eastern parts of Europe because of the money. But as wages are also increasing in East European countries, it's getting more and more difficult to get people to come to the Netherlands to do that job. So it's not only reducing costs, there's an actual need to replace that labor, because otherwise at some point, probably within the next 10 years, we will be out of people that are willing to do that job. And that's probably similar not only in packaging, but also on all the work that needs to be done on the field and in harvesting. So there's a huge demand from the industry to automate these processes. But apart from that, there are other great benefits of having machinery in a system. And one of the great benefits is that we can use sensor technologies to assess the quality of every single product that comes on our line. Whereas nowadays, samples are usually taken, samples are taken from large batches, sometimes just a few samples from a day's work. They might not be representative at all. Plus, in cases of recall, it might be you have no clue of what you need to recall. You need to basically recall the whole day's process. Where if you measure and track every single product, you can do that much better job. If you can sense the quality, you can reduce waste. You can, for instance, make sure that you don't send rotten tomatoes in a truck for a couple of days, so that the rest of the batch will also be rotten when it comes there. You can make sure that fungi are not getting on board. And you can optimize your logistic chain. We know if you can predict quite precisely what the shelf life of the product will be, you can send it either to the local market or maybe to a more distant location. So these are all motivations to automate post-harvest processing. There are, though, a number of challenges that we need to face in order to be able to do so. And I posed 3 challenges, and all of the challenges have something to do with variation and different types of variation. So one thing is the variation in package. This is just a single example, but if you go to a Dutch supermarket, and it's at least the case in most of the northern European countries, but probably also here, you see a huge variation in product of a specific type. So you can buy, for instance, in a general supermarket in the Netherlands, 8 different types of tomatoes. They're all packaged differently. They're all branded in a different way, and they might look slightly different, maybe smaller, with a higher sugar content, or singulated, or sold as a fine product. And that means that a tomato packager needs to be able to deal with all these different packaging materials. It's not only one supermarket chain. All the other supermarket chains want something different. They want to be unique with their products. And that means that they all need a unique packaging material and packaging layout. This generally means that companies need large storage to store all that prefabricated material, all those trays, all those prints, and which is quite costly to do. And it's getting more and more that the batches become lower, smaller batches, and more variation in the package material. The other variation is the variation between products. To switch from, for instance, fine tomatoes to grapes is a challenging thing to do. You need to change your whole automated line to be able to deal with a new product. So this is a type of variation that we also facing and need to have ideas of how to solve that. The last but not least is the natural variation. We're dealing with natural products. They all grow in a different way. So there's not a single fine tomato or single bunch of grapes that is exactly the same. There's always differences in the number of tomatoes. Tomatoes might have different shapes, different sizes, different colors. So we need machinery that are able to deal with that variation as well. So bottom line is that to deal with all those variations, we need systems that are very flexible in order to deal with that. And the current state of technology is not that we are that flexible. So that's why we still have a lot of human labor in this area, because humans are remarkably good in dealing with all the variation. We can, without thinking about it, handle all these different products. We can deal with the natural variation, and we have no problems in putting products into different sized packages. So this is the challenge that is ahead of us, and in order to get towards solving this, the European Committee subsidized this project called Pick and Pack, where 12 different companies, research institutes and universities were trying to solve that issue. And I will run you down the line from begin to end, give you a little bit of overview of how we solve these different challenges, how we thought about ideas of solving those and getting it towards a fully automated, flexible processing line. So first of all is the adaptive packaging. As I said, this is the challenge of dealing with different package materials, different layouts, and different prints. So at the beginning of the line, there's a molding process which forms the trays through a thermoforming process. Well, this is in general, it's machinery that you can buy already. But the new thing here, developed by the Danish Technological Institute, is making that a flexible system, a flexible mold system. And coming from Denmark and being inspired by Lego, they came up with a kind of a Lego brick system where you can very easily have bricks of different sizes with different shapes, put them all together. I'm not sure if you can point towards that. No, probably not. Well, as is shown in the middle image, you can place them on a grid in such a way that you can design virtually any shape and size of trays that's needed for a particular product and a particular customer. This can be done within a few minutes, and you can swap from one mold to the other mold. So you have the downtime, a minimal downtime, to go and process for the next company, the next supermarket chain. Plus, you only need to store now the sheet of plastic instead of storing all those prefabricated trays. Okay, those trays have been created and then enter the pick-and-place robotic module. So this is a robotic system that needs to deal with the natural variation. Right? So none of the fine tool miners, none of the grape bunches look the same. So we need systems, technologies that can deal with these differences. And on one hand, we have a machine vision challenge there. So we're looking at the products with different camera systems, both color cameras and 3D cameras, so that we can sense the shape, layout, and the color of the product. And we then need to find out where is the product, exactly what are the boundaries of that product, and how should I grasp that product with my robotic gripper, with my device. In order to solve that and to deal with the variation, we're using probabilistic models and come up with the most probable interpretation of the scene. And we use machine learning techniques so that a non-trained, not computer vision or computer science expert can actually train the system and teach it how products look like, what the shape of the product is, and how the robot should actually grasp that. So the robot is learning from examples of humans, and those can be the expert in the actual process of grasping products, and they don't need to be the expert in computer science. On the other hand, there's a demand for very agile and grippers. So the human hand is remarkable in grasping any product without damaging it. We can just grasp a bunch of grapes by sticking our hand into a crate and just taking out the grapes without any damage to the product. Well, this is still far ahead in the future. Robotics is not that far at all. We're still dealing with stainless steel, hard materials, so we're not by far as close to the human operation. But using techniques as the grippers depicted above, we can use adaptive mechanisms that change the shape of the gripper automatically, just mechanically, to the shape of the product. Because what you essentially want is you want to have enough grip or enough friction on the product in order to grip the product that it's not dropping out of the gripper. You can actually put it into the package. But on the other hand, you don't want to squeeze too hard. You don't want to put too much force on it because you will damage the product. By having a system, mechanical system that wraps around these different fingers automatically to adapt to the shape of the product, you're having the best of both worlds. So you have as high friction as possible without putting too much force at every specific finger. These are so-called under-actuated grippers, grippers that are controlled with only a single motor, but due to the mechanics can still change the position of every individual finger. And then in order to switch from one product to the other, as I said, you prefer not to have to hire another computer scientist in order to program that. And we want to just have descriptions of the process. By the way, I'm not showing a video of where we're grasping chicken breasts, chicken fillets. So the chicken fillets is one of the other products. It's not a fresh food product. So it's maybe not an Osveg type of product, but it shows the variation of completely different products that we can handle. And in order to switch from one product to the other product, you need to switch grippers, because each grippers are specialized for particular products. And we have a system, a quick release system that can change grippers within a minute. And the computer software needs to be changed, obviously, as well. And we do that by using descriptions in a human-readable way, descriptions of how the product looks like, how the gripper looks like, what the layout of the gripper is, and what the grasping process looks like. So if you want to change any of that, you can do that in a more human understandable way instead of diving into the code. So this is, I'll show you that movie. This is the integration of the robotic module in the line. So here you see the molding process. This is a particular shape and size that the Lego brick molds create. And the products then enter in the harvesting crates enter the robotic module, where they're automatically placed. The vision system from above identifies where the products are, identifies how it needs to be grasped, and the robot then goes and wraps its adaptive grippers around the product in order to grasp it and to place it into the packages. Okay, so the robotic module obviously is talking to the thermoformer in order to synchronize their movements, and products then continue on to the quality assessment module, which I'll be talking about in a minute, where products are being scanned with different sensors and their quality is checked. And in the end, using adaptive printer technologies, the information coming from the quality assessment system can be put onto the packages right away, and with, for instance, a QR code, the customer is able to get much more information about that product than it can do nowadays if you go to a supermarket. So the quality assessment is the next step. For you, you might be wondering, why would you do that after packaging the material? Well, it obviously makes much more sense to do it before you actually package it. This is one of the compromises that you sometimes have to do if you work with 12 different partners. But the technology can readily be used to do that before you actually package it, before you bring it to the robotic module. We're using here multiple sensors because we want to deal with different products, different produce, and each produce will have its own specific characteristics of what quality means for that product, which might mean that you need different sensor technologies in order to get that information. So on the one hand, we have RGB cameras, which are the kind of type of cameras that are being used readily over, and they can basically see what the human eye can see as well. So at least in theory, everything that the human eye can notice, a system with an RGB camera can notice as well. But we can do much more than that. We can use hyperspectral information. These are hyperspectral cameras that sense not only red, green, and light colors, as the human eye can do and as these RGB cameras can do, but they can sense 256 different wavelengths from the visible light up to the near infrared light, and can thereby get much more information about the product, and that can be related back to the chemicals in the product, which is something about, for instance, the sugar contents of tomatoes. So it gives a lot of information that can be processed in order to get quality. These are sensors that look at the outside of the product. We can also look inside products with X-ray technologies. Well, standard X-ray technologies are out there. If you use, instead of one, you use two X-ray sensors, you can go to stereo vision types of systems where you can have a 3D layout of the interior of the product. So we can sense internal rots. We can sense, for instance, if the chambers of a tomato are correct, yes or no, and we can identify that and trace it back into a 3D position inside the products. And that means that we can see much better if it's an actual damage and where the damage is. And then we have microwave sensor technologies, which can sense water content, which is very important for fresh produce. Is it still a fresh product with a long shelf life, or is it about to expire its shelf life? But it gets information from different sensors, different aspects of quality, and in the end we need to combine that in order to classify the product as being good or bad, or maybe you can have a variety of something between good and bad. We do that by taking these different features from the different camera systems and combining them into a general classification using machine learning. So again, an expert on the quality of food can train the system by showing examples, letting the examples be scanned and say, this is a good example, this is a bad example, or this is an example of a product that has a shelf life of another 10 days, or this is one that needs to be shipped to the market because it will expire within 2 days. Giving that information on that level, the system can learn the relationship between the features in the sensory data with that classification that is understandable by human beings. This is another example of where we use machine learning in order to classify images. In this case, it's for ready meals, where producers put into the ready meal package, and we need to sense if the correct product is in the correct pouch. So every product here has information about the color. We can so the carrots are orange and the beans are green. But to distinguish beans and peas here, for instance, it's difficult based on color only. So you can also get other information, like for instance the texture, and get a description of the texture, and that gives you a description of the image related to the product that's inside, which you can then use in order to classify the product and say, okay, this is indeed contains green beans, or this contains green beans, but there are some other products inside as well, so it should be rejected. Again, this is a machine learning technology. The machine learning technology will take care of all the raw data, and you as a user can train this based on more higher level, human understandable notions. A recent trend in computer vision is using deep learning networks. These are very complicated networks that might have to train for days or even weeks in order to get to the right answer, but they will eventually get to a good answer. And you there need to show it again data and label that data. For instance, here some apples with bad examples in there, and you mark the bad examples and give that to the network. You need sufficient data, and it will start crunching on that. So what are the characteristics of that bad piece of that bad apple in this case? I show you here an example of only using RGB imagery, but you can do that with all the other sensors that we have. So you just give all that data to the machine algorithm. It will start crunching on it, and at some point come up with an algorithm that says, okay, I can classify that in a particular way. And that can be then used in line within a few milliseconds. It can give you the right answer to your problem. And that then gives you a lot of data. So for every single product that is in the tray, we can collect data, and that is very valuable data in different directions, upstream, downstream, and towards machine builders. On one hand, upstream towards the producers, it tells you a lot about the quality that comes from the different producers that provide you the raw materials. It can also be communicated with the customer that gets a lot more track and trace information about the product that's dealing with, so that will improve the quality of the product. And it gives you information about how the whole system operates. And machine builders are very interested in that as well, because they want to constantly update their systems in order to get better and better. And you need data in order to do so. But this is one of the byproducts of the system. It's not maybe the main purpose, but it gives you a lot of extra data that you can use in the whole chain. Okay, so we have been creating adaptive packaging. So I showed you the mold system that can create different shapes and layouts within a few minutes. But it also means that in the end, when you print the trays and put a seal on top of it, you need to be adaptive as well. So on the one hand, there we have a live printing module that can print the top foil of the trays based on all the information that has been sensed in the system, so it can give you the most accurate, up-to-date information about the quality. And in order to deal with the different layouts of the packages, we use a laser system that welds and cuts the packages. So this is a laser that can be with a mirror. The laser beam can be tuned and directed to any position on the foil. And based on the information that we have in software about the layout of the trays, we can weld it in the correct places, and you can deal with all the variety of different packages that is needed. Just showing some. It's difficult to see here. So the laser is operating in the near-infrared spectrum, so you don't really actually see it, but you might see a bit of smoke coming out when it starts to cut the trays loose. So the product gets underneath. Now it's being sealed by the laser, and it's being cut loose from the rest of the trays. Okay, so we now have sealed trays, and they need to be put into two boxes. And one of the problems there is that the typical robots used in the food industry are flex picker robots that ABB once designed, and now that their patents run out a few years ago, everyone's building the same robots. But they have a relatively small working range, and it's a circular working range. So it's difficult to fill boxes, and especially if you have multiple of them and you want to fill that, you need multiple robots in order to do so. Tecnalia Institute in Spain came up with a solution using cables in order to pull your robotic end effector. And that is a very flexible system where you can just place the corner poles in different positions, calibrate the system, and run it on the specific work area that you want it to work on. So then again, increasing flexibility in order to meet the demands that the particular product or the particular process needs. Okay, so this is the functionality of the line as a whole, but obviously that line needs cleaning as well, and cleaning is also still something that's done manually nowadays. It's also something that you can try to automate, and we're working together with Fraunhofer on this, experts on the field of hygienic design and hygienic machineries in the food industry. And on one hand, we have you see the robot here moving around and basically cleaning itself. So there are different nozzles. There's a nozzle on the robot itself, nozzles in different areas of the robotic field, the work module. And it can, on one hand, first spray out a cleaning agent, let that rest for a while, and then spray with water, as you can see here, in order to clean off the agents and get a completely nice and clean robotic module. The gripper, as you might notice, is taken off because that needs even more cleaning. That really touches the product constantly. So that's put into an ultrasonic bath where it's all the joints and everything is cleaned completely. And the rest of the line, that's where we use a small robotic device that runs through the line. Again, putting cleaning agent on it and spraying it with water in order to get it fully cleaned. Okay, now we showed you all these different modules, all these different hardware modules, and they all need to communicate with each other in order to synchronize their movements, in order to pass information about the product that has been dealt with from one to another. And that's done using a flexible infrastructure where we created an open communication protocol where different modules built by different universities, different companies, in order to be able to let them all talk together. Right? Nowadays, the current practice is that in a factory you will buy the whole line from a single producer, a single manufacturer. You might want to actually have maybe the robot cell of manufacturer A and then use a quality assessment module of manufacturer B, and they should be able to talk to each other. So this is a system based on internet protocols where each module gets up, announces itself to the line, tells us a little bit about who it is, so where am I, what can I do, what type of information do I need, and what do I actually pass on to the rest of the line, so that the line controller can then figure out, are all the right modules in place, are they all ready to go? If so, then yes, let's go and produce our product. Okay, just to sum that all up, I explained to you that we have three challenges that, well, there might be more than that, but the three main challenges that we need to deal with, and that's basically all down to variation. On one hand, variation in packages. I hope I showed you that we can do that on the one hand by having a Lego brick system where you can adaptively change your molds and do that within a few minutes. And on the other hand, at the end of the line, have a printer that prints on the information that the customer wants or that the whole line produces, and a laser that can weld on the right places. Then we need to deal with the variation in products, switching from one to another. So on the one hand, this is quickly changing grippers. On the other hand, that is down to machine learning techniques where you can train a system based on a new product, using all its raw data and figuring out the relation between quality or the way it should grasp it and all that raw information. And the third challenge is dealing with the natural variations. It's based on probabilistic models and using adaptive grippers that form themselves to the shape of the product. Okay, that's all I wanted to share. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure if we have time now, or otherwise we'll do it in the Q&A session. Thank you.